I want you to stop. Take a deep breath. Trust that whatever decision you make, it will be okay, because it will. There are so many options out there for you. And what I hope to do in this video is to arm you with the information you need to make an informed decision. Hi, welcome back. If this is your first time on my channel, my name is Khadija and I bring you content on all things weddings and events. Today I want to start by first expressing just how much my heart goes out to all of the couples whose original wedding plans have been disturbed by the COVID-19 pandemic. Your wedding is one of the most memorable days of your life. And for it to not happen just as you've always envisioned is understandably upsetting. But try to remember that while COVID may have rattled your plans, the most important thing, and really the reason for the wedding in the first place, is the unconditional love between you and your significant other. And that is something that cannot be rattled. Now, I am not speaking to you as a medical expert, nor am I speaking to you as a legal expert. So the onus is still on you to do your full research and make sure that you are adhering to the guidelines put in place by your state and federal government. What I am giving you in this video are simply thoughts, ideas, and tidbits. The other thing I want to stress is that whichever option you decide to go with, there is so much value in having a professional planner. We are literally built for times like these. I don't think people quite realize the amount of acrobatics that planners typically go through behind the scenes, even back when things were quote unquote normal. Putting out fires and orchestrating every little detail so that the end result is a flawless experience for you and your guests. So in a difficult time like this, we can really be your best friend and your liaison to your other vendors, reviewing your contracts for you, negotiating on your behalf, looking into alternate dates for you. You have enough stress as it is, so I encourage you to lean on your planner. Now, some of you will sit down with your partner and have the conversation, and you will decide that having your wedding exactly as you've dreamt it is non-negotiable. You will not be okay with any modifications. You want all of your family and friends to physically watch you make your vows, to hug all of them and dance with them without inhibition, to have all of the lavish food displays without apprehension. And for those of you, the best option is going to be to postpone. And it's okay, because the only thing you'll be postponing is the date of your wedding. You've already found the one person in this whole world that you're in love with and that you will share the rest of your life with. So don't worry about it. Others of you will have the discussion and you will decide that you want to keep your wedding date as scheduled, understanding that it will now require additional safety measures and limitations to your guest count, which could be significant depending on how many guests you were originally going to have. For those of you, there is the option of the micro-wedding. Many venues now offer micro-wedding packages to facilitate this for you. You will have to prioritize who can attend your wedding then. My advice on that is to make your list, when making this list, keep in mind that it's not recommended for the elderly, the vulnerable, and those with pre-existing conditions to attend social gatherings at this time. You should then personally call all of the people that remain invited. And when you call them, I want you to preface that conversation by letting them know that there is no pressure. Everybody has a different level of comfort right now going into gatherings, no matter how small they are. So if they tell you that they are more comfortable not attending your wedding, don't take it personally. You really have to tap into your understanding at a time like this. Next, you'll want to call all of the people who were originally invited that now have to be uninvited due to regulations. And believe me, they will understand. I think the whole world understands at this point. Now, once you've made your calls, you want to take into consideration the safety measures you'll have to take. And communicate. Let your guests know. If they are expected to bring their own masks, tell them that. Now, inevitably, somebody's gonna show up without their mask because that's just how these things work. And it's okay because your trusty planner is going to be prepared with extra masks on hand. You can also provide the masks for them. And depending on how much time you have before your wedding date, you can get a little cute with it. Put your names or wedding date or wedding hashtag on the masks. Have sanitation stations throughout your event. And the miniature bottles of hand sanitizer are a great addition and very appropriate to add to your favors. You can place a bottle at each seat, and that way every guest has their own bottle of sanitizer for the evening. If you're having your event at a venue that is also catering, then they should be on top of this, and they will likely have a conversation with you as to any modifications that may need to be made to your menu in terms of the presentation of it for safety. If you're having your wedding at home, or you are providing some or all of your own food, then please, please, please be cautious. Buffet style is not recommended right now. It's just too risky. Between people lining up for the food and the food being uncovered and recovered again, and you literally would have to switch out the serving utensils after each use. It's just not practical. The most recommended right now is to present the food in individually pre-packaged meals. And the same is true for the beverage as well. And that doesn't have to restrict you. You could have your bartender pre-batch different cocktails, have them pre-poured in individual bottles with lids. And that way your guests can just grab and go. The last thing I want to touch on regarding micro-weddings is to not skimp on the decor. Just because the magnitude of your wedding in terms of the number of guests has decreased doesn't mean that you should sacrifice style or luxury. If anything, it means that now you can elevate. I mean, just think about it. If you were originally going to have 250 guests and now you can only have 50 guests, that's a large part of your budget that just opened up. So use it to the advantage of the event. If you were going to go with regular house chairs before, now you can upgrade to a Louis chair or an infinity chair. Upgrade your linen, add more florals, enhance your centerpiece, add a dance floor, add pipe and drape. Maybe you have an issue with the carpet in your ballroom. It doesn't go with your all-white theme, and there was nothing you could do about it before because you couldn't afford it. But guess what? Now you can have the entire ballroom recarpeted. There are so many enhancements that you can take advantage of because the pictures and the video of this day are something that you will look back on for an eternity. So go all out. Some of you will have the discussion and decide that you want to keep your wedding as scheduled, but that you don't want everyone to physically come. And for those of you, there is the virtual wedding. Virtual weddings are increasingly popular now, and understandably so. They allow your guests to tune in from the comfort of their homes, and they alleviate you of the stress of having to worry about all the safety precautions and the food and beverage for everybody. The first thing you'll want to do with the virtual wedding is identify the service that you'll be using. There are lots of free services out there. You can literally create a private Facebook group and go live, and they can view you that way. You can create a private YouTube link and share it with your guest list. You can also do it via Zoom, and Zoom does have a cap of 100 guests with their regular service, but you can upgrade to a service that allows 500 guests maximum. The next thing to know about a virtual wedding is that you want to be mindful of your filming location. It's most recommended that you film outdoors if possible, because then you have the natural lighting. If you must film inside, be mindful, make sure that the room is as well lit as possible. And in that same vein, you want to make sure that the audio and the visual is good to go. So do a dry run beforehand. Don't wait until it's showtime to deal with all the glitches. Next thing is the dress code. Communicate what you want your dress code to be, because otherwise your guests will interpret it however they choose to interpret it. And just because they're watching from their home doesn't mean you want to see them in their sweatpants. So if you still want to maintain a formal dress code, make that clear. And if your guests are anything like me, they can't wait for a reason to get dressed up. It'll be fun. The last bit of advice I have for the virtual wedding is to make your guest feel included. And I don't just mean included in the sense of, here's my link, come to my wedding. I mean included in the sense of maybe shipping some favors to them in advance so that they have it. For example, you know the little splits of champagne? You can send each of your guests a split of champagne or a miniature bottle of sparkling cider. And that way, when it's time for your champagne toast, everybody can pop it at the same time. Or maybe you send them the recipe for a signature cocktail, and they can have fun making the cocktail, but also then have their glass in hand for when your wedding begins. There's just something valuable in making your guest feel like you took the time to think of them and include them. And with a virtual wedding, all of the same formalities of a normal wedding can still apply. You can still have your toasts, and your planner or whoever is manning your streaming service can unmute the participants when it's their turn to give their speech. You know, you can still play games. I mean, anything you could have done before, you can still do. So this is a viable option. You can even have a hybrid of a micro wedding and a virtual wedding where a select number of your guests are physically present and you live stream to the remainder of your guest list. The last option I want to touch on is an elopement. This can literally be just you, your honey, and the officiant. It affords you a lot more flexibility, so you can literally jet off to some exotic location and have your ceremony. You can just be more adventurous. But with an elopement, it doesn't necessarily have to involve travel. You can have it in your backyard, and it doesn't have to be just the two of you and the officiant. You can include your parents and a few friends and family. So the moral of this video is that there are many options out there for you, and each with their own advantages. Whichever one you decide on, you can always have the larger reception down the line when things get back to a little bit more normalcy. I hope you found this video helpful. Let me know in the comments. And if you haven't done so, go ahead and like the page, subscribe, and click on the notification bell so that each time I upload a new video, you instantly know about it. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.